Welcome to another episode of First Gen Grind, the podcast where we dive into unique experiences of navigating life between two cultures. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or you've been with us on this journey before, I'm so glad that you're here. First generation in this case means the first in a family to be born in a particular country. Today we're going to be exploring a topic that resonates deeply with so many of us. Where is home? It's a question that I, and I'm sure many of you, have grappled with time and time again. What does home really mean when you're constantly balancing two cultures and two identities that don't always seem to fit together perfectly? Let's dive right in. What does home mean to you? For first-generation individuals, it can be an incredibly complex question. We often feel pulled between two places, between the homeland of our parents and the country we were born or raised in. This balancing act is different for each one of us, even when we share the same cultural backgrounds. For some, the scales tip one way more than the other, and for others, it feels like a constant battle to find equilibrium. Speaking for myself, there are times when I feel too Tamil for my Canadian side, and other times I feel too Canadian for my Tamil side. And that's where the struggle really begins. This feeling that you're never fully belonging to one or the other. Sometimes the push and pull makes you feel like you're floating between two worlds without ever really landing in one. It can be incredibly isolating because it feels like there's no one who truly gets what you're going through. Even if they share your cultural background sometimes, the mix on the scale is different. I remember feeling this tension more strongly than ever when I worked at the airport. It was there that I encountered people from all parts of Canada, the US, Europe, people who would look at me, hear me speak English, and still act surprised. I'd get comments like, "Wow, your English is so good," as if my ability to speak it fluently was some kind of marvel. And I'd think to myself, why is it so shocking to you that I can speak it when I was born here? Moments like these make you feel like you're a foreigner in your own country. It's jarring to realize that despite being born and raised in Canada, a place that should feel like home, there are people who always see me as an outsider simply because of the way that I look. That's what makes this question of where is home so difficult. As first-gen individuals, we're trying to navigate the values, customs, expectations of two cultures. The values often differ dramatically, one set rooted in traditions and norms of our parents' homeland, and the other shaped by the more modern, individualistic culture of the country we grew up in. The difficulty comes when we realize that we don't perfectly fit into either. Sometimes it feels like being an in-between means you belong nowhere. Many of us haven't even lived in the homeland of our parents. Canada, for example, is all I've ever known, and yet there are moments when people here speak to me as if I'm not Canadian, as if my birthplace or the life that I lived here doesn't count. And I know that I'm not alone in that experience. It's something that many first-gen individuals face and will likely continue to face as long as the world sees certain ethnicities as outsiders, as others. It's such a strange thing to have someone question your belonging based on their perception of what a Canadian should look like or sound like. But here's what I've come to realize. Home isn't necessarily tied to one place or one identity. As you interact with more people from different backgrounds and perspectives, you start to see that there's no single definition of what it means to belong either. Sure, there's a large population of Canadians who fit the stereotypical mold of what other Canadians think a Canadian is, but there's also an ever-growing diverse population of people like us who are just as much a Canadian. It's important to branch out to broaden your community and find those that share similar experiences, or at the very least, who accept and embrace you. At the end of the day, home is wherever you decided to be, and most importantly, it's where you feel the most like yourself. Don't let those that impose their limited mindset onto you impact how you feel about you, your home, and your belongingness. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of First Gen Grind. I know that this question of where is home is one that many of us struggle with, and I hope that today's conversation has helped you think about it in a new way. I do feel like there's a lot more that can be said about this topic, and I'd love to do more of a mini-series on it over time. If you've got a story to share about your own search for home, or if you have a question or a topic that you'd like me to explore, please don't hesitate to reach out. This is a community, and I'm so grateful to have you in it. Until next time, remember, take up the space that you need, don't hold back, and do be authentically yourself. Nandri Vanakkam.